No, the sunglasses are coming off.
Okay, cool.
No, I'm just tired of the lights.
Oh, here, it's so hard being in the light. So Gabriel is a molecular biologist and is an open source biology enthusiast. He's developed biology projects for over a decade, like he said before, outside of academia. He's focused on human health, longevity, and bioremediation. So without further ado, this is Gabriel. There you go.
Hello? Oh, there we go. I brought presents, by the way, just like last year. Yeah, so my name is Gabriel. I work for a 501c3 nonprofit called Scihouse. I actually made notes, so this is kind of a big deal for me, so it's going to be different from most of my talks. That's why I'm sitting here instead of already ranting. What I'm going to talk about is actually so important that I put some effort into it, so thanks for listening. I'm not really a biohacker anymore. Like I'm pretty burnt out on that term. If you have a Thermo Fisher account, you're not really hacking biology. And let's also be honest, if you're buying your materials secondhand from someone, you're not really a biohacker either. You're just like, you get a Jimmy John's and you like, I put mustard on that bitch, I'm gonna buy it. I'm a sandwich hacker. No, you just ordered a fucking sandwich, it's okay. You don't be okay with that. So as much as we all pretend that we would love to live in a Dr. Sleepless comic, we have to kind of face the facts. And so that's what this talk is going to be about. I'm going to use some conserved languages for anyone who's been to a scientific conference. They usually say stuff like, so now I'm going to tell you 3 stories. And so the first one is about how some friends and I did something really, really amazing and how we want to share it with you and how we want your participation to move forward on that. The next thing is about outlining some of the flaws that we've run into, because what would Gabriel be on stage be without me being hypercritical of things? And then the third thing is about basically the next big project for me, and I hope for you as well, and how you guys can help, and I honestly believe that all of you are capable of participating in this. So Glibrera was a gene therapy approved in the EU, and it deals with lipoprotein lipase deficiency. Yep, it's got the quote up there. Wow, that text is really tiny on the screen. And then it just jumped to me in my notes. That's what I get for making notes. So basically, if you're part of this small population that has this thing, and it is an extremely small population that has this thing, your body is incapable of breaking down triglycerides in a responsible, reasonable fashion, to the point where one of the symptoms of having this disease is your blood is white, because it's so filled with fat that you're... Is that my timer already? That your blood has become white. So it's actually really, really bad. It causes a lot of suffering. And it's the first gene therapy that was approved in the EU back in 2015, and they put it on the market for $1 million. And one person got it after they put it on the market. They had 38 people that got it as basically they were test subjects. So it's been tested in mice, it's been tested in dogs, it's been tested in cats, it's been tested in monkeys, it's been tested in human beings. It works, but it's $1 million. And it's $1 million because the pharmaceutical companies that they didn't build the drug. See, that's the problem. We think the pharmaceutical companies make the drugs. The pharmaceutical companies that were selling the drug decided that this was the cost for a therapy that would make it so that people didn't suffer anymore. And so it got pulled from the market. Because $1 million, nobody can pay $1 million. There was one insurance company in Germany that covered it for one human being. And so it was really rough on the academics that created it because they had no idea that this was going to happen. They're like, we thought this was just going to be accessible. We made something that would help people, and then clinical trials happened, and holy crap. And so one day Andreas Strumer, wave, say hi. This is Andreas. He's brilliant. He messages me and he goes, hey, I was reading about Libera and I think that we could totally just reverse engineer this thing and it would be really easy. And I go, okay, cool. So we got a hold of our friend, David Ishii. David, say hello. Also a brilliant man. He deserves as much time as I do. I just allowed her. And we're like, okay, let's do this thing. So we used a backbone that was developed by David, and Andreas put together the gene sequence that we then responsibly had printed out by a third-party company because building things from scratch in your home lab is stupid and tedious and dumb. And then we smacked it all together, and then I have a mammalian cell lab, and so I tested it. And oh my God, it actually works. And so for the cost of, I think, all included, everything that it took, it cost $7,000 to do this, and this is a one-time cost. It won't be $7,000 every time. In fact, doing this again is only going to take like a handful of pennies. In fact, I brought some to share with everyone. But so, what you can see here, just in case anybody's interested about the data, and I also do have raw data from the machine. If anybody wants raw data, message me. I will send you the Excel file. You can get all of the information because openness is important. But so, like here what we have is our standardized curve. Because we bought a kit, like a professional kit, like, you know, professionals do, to test this. It is an LPL deficiency kit, and you use it, and doctors use it, and researchers use it, and why would I try to reinvent the goddamn wheel? And so we bought it, and here's our standardized curve of the data that we should be expecting. This is what we've been calling the DMEM peak. It's because it's in DMEM, because I'm doing mammalian cells. And then here's our expression of LPL. Pretty dope, right? It worked. It was easy. It cost us a couple $1,000s, and we did it in 2 months. So that's it. This is the new low bar. We have basically set the low bar for the most basic bullshit. Biohackers get together and actually make something that doesn't look like garbage, that might actually work and help people do things. Good job, team. Yay. So this was developed in a shed in Mississippi, a warehouse in Florida, a bedroom in Indiana, and on a computer in Austria, because Andreas is from Austria and it's super illegal to do web work in Austria. So he does the computer stuff, and then I handle things, and together neither of us technically break the law. So this is the new low bar, and all you guys have to do moving forward from here is to not hit your forehead on that. And this also means you too, media people, if you could maybe focus on things that are important instead of hype, that would be lovely. And so, step 0 is to not inject yourself with this thing. Please, for the love of God, stop stabbing yourself. Step 1 is to get the material tested by others, which is why I brought it to give to you. This is the plasmid in E. coli. You can take it, you can culture it, you can purify it, you can turn it into mini circles even. Pretty cool. If there's anyone here from professional universities, you know, there's always like somebody lurking around from Harvard or MIT. I have purified plasmids. Lyophilized purified plasmids of the thing as well. This is what I use to transfect my mammalian cells. I'm pretty sure there's a bored grad student out there that would love to do this, because you could prove me wrong, or you could prove me right, or you could do just about anything, because it's called peer review. Have you guys heard about peer review? It's where you do something, and then before you stab yourself, you ask somebody else to do it too. So I would love to see that, and so I have brought these materials to share with you people so that you can do that as well. Now I know that this is against the biohacker ethic, because the primary theme of the biohacker ethic lately has been, I'm going to do something cool that somebody already did, but I'm going to repackage it as something entrepreneurialism. And I would love to move beyond that. I would actually like people to start doing responsible work. And so we have no splash page for this. We have no investors. There is zero hustle. It's already Creative Commons licensed, so nobody can make any money off of it, but you might do something good. So yeah, actually, so this is going to be here. You can talk to me later, and I'll make sure that everybody gets some if they can responsibly say, hey, I can test this. So the usual cowboy narrative for being a biohacker is pretty much garbage. It's so I would like to propose that we grow up a little bit. And so let's talk about the next thing, like the third part of the story. What's the new big hurdle? Okay, so this is Sao Paulo at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because the world is on fire. And I actually started this talk 2 months ago. Like I said, I would really think this is an important thing to talk about. I had a whole bunch of really clever slides about climate collapse. And then summer happened. And I was like, which horrifying picture do I choose for my slide? So the fight against Big Pharma is basically moot at this point. My friends and I can crank out something like this every 2 months for a different disease, okay? It's not that hard, and then it gets tested, and then we move on. So let's move on. Okay, let's talk about like the bigger picture here for a little bit, if that's okay with everyone, if it's gonna be too uncomfortable. Because I really love these little hangouts. I love seeing you guys every year and yelling at you and having you yell back at me. But if we don't fix some of our bigger problems, there won't be a Vegas to hang out in. And I'm an old man that likes to yell at clouds. That's what some people call me. And the only clouds I'm going to be seeing in the near future are like when Florida gets erased from the map, and when the next Category 6 decides to hit. And anyone who thinks that that's not actually a thing should, oh, I don't know, go stand outside for 10 minutes. So, if you want to do a full statin hack or any of this other stuff, most of this stuff is already available. Like we're hacking it just to feel good about ourselves. Like you want a full statin hack? I can buy you an AAV. I'll set up a wave bag on tap, and we can just like pull that stuff off. It'll take like, I don't know, a couple of months to just get it balanced out. It is completely and absolutely masturbatory at this point, okay? It doesn't help anything, and it doesn't matter how big your muscles get. You can't eat sand, and you can't breathe underwater. And there is no biohack for that. Let's stay within the realm of reality. So, right now we're having this problem where everyone is kind of buying into the hype so hard that they're kind of like, they're talking about how great they are, but they're really just like kind of sitting in their grandma's basement, shooting each other with like rubber bands. I'm like, oh, dude, I make glowing beer. It's like, cool. It's kind of embarrassing. Like, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but that's also what I do all the time, so. So what we need to understand right now is that this is our cathedral moment, okay? This is our victory gardens in the war for the world. This is a time where we might actually watch our families and our loved ones die in front of us. being ridiculous about here. Anyone who has looked at the data knows that that's the case. And so that's kind of this is the time for us to stop digging around with our petty, self-centered little projects and actually do something that matters. You might not even see the benefit, but don't some of you have kids or something? And it would be really great if they didn't die. And if you guys think that that's not what's about to happen, then you haven't been paying attention to scientific reality. And I think it's very irresponsible. So, now if you don't know what to do, that's totally okay. Because like, how are you supposed to respond to that? Like, how are you gonna be like, okay, well, I just got called out. What am I supposed to do? That's fine. Find somebody who does know what to do. Be like, I'll work for you. I'll do something. I'm willing to put down my petty bullshit for 6 months. If you are somebody that's working on something that's actually important like this, demand work. Be like, hey, your glowing flowers are shit. Come here and transfect plants for the planet. Let's try to fix something, okay? Nobody cares about your glowing flowers. Your glowing flowers won't live if they don't have anywhere to grow. Your dogs will have no fields to play in, no matter how healthy you make them. Also kind of important. So, all cathedrals are basically just Lego blocks made out of giant bricks. And so, maybe you're not actually great at lab work. Like, you're all here because you're passionate about biohacking, but let's be honest, some of us are really crap at using a pipette, and also moving small amounts of liquid back and forth is really boring. It's not for everyone. Like, moving stuff around and then watching it fail over and over again, it doesn't make you feel good. And it's not for everybody. I like it for some reason. But maybe you're good at something else. Like, maybe you're good at accounting. So you know what? Go join your local lab. Come into that lab and be like, hey, I'm actually really interested in doing biohacking. And I could spend your time wasting your supplies, but you know, I'm actually really good at accounting, so how about I just come in once a week and balance your books? Because you know what? If we're spending all our time doing biology work, oh my God, also doing accounting on top. Hey, how's that going, by the way? Oh, I'm looking at you. Right? No, it's terrible to have 40 jobs. And you don't need to do every job. Every single one of you probably has like 4 freaking jobs right now. You don't have to be good at everything. You could just be good at one thing and then work with someone else. Andreas actually is really, really good at Snapgene. Watching him use Snapgene is like real good. And so I have a lifetime subscription to Snapgene. And that's expensive. And after watching him work on it, I was like, dude, it's yours. I'm going to transfer it over to you. You can have it. He's like, are you sure? I go, yeah. You're way better at it than I am. Like, you should do that. Andreas does design. I do wet work. And between the two of us, we're one functional human being. And so that's the thing. Like, you don't need to be the entire castle. Nobody should have to bear that weight. But you can be good at something, and maybe that thing isn't necessarily moving small fluids back and forth. So, I guess, you know, it's obvious that I'm not sugarcoating any of this, how I feel about this. But I believe that we have a responsibility as a community and as human beings to face the facts and then act upon them. Everything that you care about is basically useless in the fact of what's going to happen. So, give it away. Stop selling yourself for pennies and media clicks. Do something bigger than yourself. And for those of you that are like kind of skeptical and smirking in this lovely AC building. You're going to go back to your private projects and your labs, and you're going to be focused on the small, small world of getting more funding and selling some lovely product, because that's how it works, because that's how you get that VC dime, that VC dime. You can't buy out the laws of thermodynamics, okay? You have to understand that. Like, you can't pay a hurricane to go away. Hey, Pisaccia, how's Florida doing?
My house is gonna be underwater.
Yeah. So, yeah. So this is the narrative that we like to talk about. And I have, the next slide here was actually supposed to be a movie, but I got no audio, so I'm gonna read it. We've got a higher purpose here. A wake-up call for the Nintendo generation. We demand free access to data. Well, it comes with some responsibilities. When I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. So why is everyone in this room? Well, it's because of this thing, kinda. Because this is not my voice that I'm speaking in right now. Okay, these are the voices that this community chose to adopt. This isn't about me, it's about who you wanted to be, who you said you wanted to be, or you know what, somebody tried to sell you that you could be. So, you're gonna listen to Aubrey Gray, and then later you're gonna listen to Josiah talk about medical industrial complex. Not that he hasn't already. And life extension is pretty fucking useless if most of the people will die from drought, fire, food shortage, extreme weather in the next 30 years. So, the same goes for medicine. Like, having really dope medicine is totally fucking useless if you're just going to starve to death. So, my friends and I made this. We can crank one out on the very regular. But who gives a crap if we're all dead, right? So, you're all smart and passionate people, and it's time to put that to good use. Not just for your hobbies or your personal passions, but for yourself, your families, and your friends.
So what do you need?
I don't know, what can you do? Devices? Well, we definitely need testing hardware. And that's the type of thing. We need to start working together. We need to start getting into groups. We need to understand that not everybody needs to be a biohacker. Some people are hardware hackers. Some people are really good at money. Some people are just good at cleaning shit. And you know what? I like that, because I'm kind of, That's why I have an autoclave. So, I mean, I have my project, and other people are working on it with me. There's a poster in there. I also brought those genes. If anybody wants to make superpowered plants, I have a gene for you. You get a gene. No, I'm not going to throw stabs at everyone. Rich is special. But I mean, like, that's where it needs to go. Like, does anyone else actually care about not dying? Oh, cool, a couple of hands, that's great. Yay. We're so fucked. Yes, is this a question? Like, I think there's supposed to be a part where you come up, and I'm really loud, so you can totally have my microphone.
Oh, that's cool. We got one here.
What are some of your ideas for solutions for climate change using plants?
Ooh, okay, so quick recap of what I talked about last. Okay, and then he drops the mic. It's not as fun in real life. So we can talk more about this in person if anybody's interested. Also, there's a poster and you can read more about it. But upregulation of certain genes in plants causes increased growth, increased photosynthetic efficiency, greater drought tolerance, greater salinity tolerance. So basically, what we call the project ENS. It grows fast, it grows big. You know, because we're really, really wonderful at burning things down, but we're really shit at growing things. And it's basically the mashup of permaculture techniques, but without the hippie nonsense, and things that we stole from the lumber and sugarcane industry, but without the corporate boot stomping on your neck nonsense, and trying to make them friends.
So at this point, tackling many of these issues facing us one at a time, I think if we do that, it's far too late. So I do think we need to be prioritizing what we go after first. And I'm just wondering what you think would knock out the most of these issues in one swoop, if possible.
That's a great question. I've been pretty focused on my one project, but I don't think it's the perfect project. It's just, I'm only one person. Does anybody work with Azola? Yeah, Azola is amazing. It actually caused a snowball Earth event in geological history. So like if you cover the entire, like I'm not saying that you should do this, you should totally not cover the Great Lakes in a microfern that doubles its mass in 8 days in ideal conditions and sucks carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere like a giant vacuum. That would be super irresponsible, don't do that.
This is something that I don't think any biohackers should try to go after. But what would your opinion be on knocking down human fecundity?
The number of people on the planet isn't the problem. It's that y'all is stupid.
Yes, I mean, yes, I know the
So
planet.
having less babies doesn't make those babies less stupid.
Yes, well, I know the planet can more than support the number of people we have, many times over, but the thing is people behave. And the question is really not how many people can the planet handle, but how many stupid people can it handle?
Well, the thing is that, like, for me, like, I don't think that I'm in the top 2.5% of the long tail of the bell curve. So stupid means everything in that 95 percentile. Sometimes we're just really, really greedy little monsters. And like this requires a whole bunch of other stuff. Like, there's been people talking about community building. Why don't we work on developing communities where we're less greedy little monsters? It doesn't always have to be about biohacking, people. You can be good at other things, it's okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So, question about Sliberia. What's your plan for how this should reach patients? How should patients benefit from this eventually?
I did one test, and your question is, where's it going to patients? That's super irresponsible, dude. Like,
I'm asking what's your plan?
I don't have a plan. I need more data. I can't even responsibly say if it works with just my data point, which is why I'm giving it to you guys to test. Like this, we are so far away, not in a 13 years of clinical trials type of way, but like, I'm just one person with a set of data points. It's totally irresponsible for me to be like, well, I got some good data. I guess the next thing we're going to do is, hey, are you desperate? I got a needle. Like, it's not how it should work, you know? And I think that's part of the problem is that, you know, we're so frantic to get away from the regulatory systems that already exist that we're like running hard in the opposite direction into Mad Max. I'm going to like, you know, oh yeah, sure. So, you know, in 3 to 5 years, I'm going to be stabbing all sorts of people. And that doesn't make any sense, man. I don't know. I need more data.
If the data's good, what are you gonna do?
Well, I've been working with people to work with the FDA because there's an entire infrastructure of things that already pre-exist that'll allow you to do this. And Like,
I mean you.
me personally.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the thing.
We're talking about masturbatory projects.
Right, no, so that's the thing. So like me personally, honestly, I like doing basic research and exploration. I'm gonna hand this over to someone way more competent at scaling and walk away from that. Because that's not what I do. And I can recognize that. So once we get better data, somebody else can have that and they can run with it. Because it's not my job. I do research.
Just as a counterpoint, in 1969 I took an ecology class. It was 5th grade ecology, but it was a very good class. We went out into nature and collected samples and did all kinds of experiments. And our ecology professor said, you know, in 25 years the world's going to end basically. You got to do something about all this stuff. That was 50 years ago. So there's always people pronouncing doom and gloom, but this planet has lasted through numerous ice ages, numerous times where the entire United States was underwater. We weren't always around then, but we went through a lot of ice ages. I think we got to put that all in kind of perspective. Yes, the worst may happen, but I think it's much more likely that even if all the glaciers melt, humanity as a whole is going to do just fine.
Okay, first off, extinction events are usually like 95% species death. And if you think that you're going to be in that magical 5%, come on, dude. Second, yes, I'm sorry that we didn't fail as fast as your college professor said. Don't worry, we're working on it now. Third, back when you took that class, we hadn't killed off 80% of the insects, 80% of the birds, 80% of the fish, and 80% of the terrestrial mammals.
Actually, we rescued the bald eagle from DDT, and that was one that was like a
We
guaranteed
say,
death.
good, pat yourself on the back, everything else is dead, it doesn't matter. No, the data speaks for itself, okay? Anyone who's my age or older, I'm almost 40, anyone who's my age or older, do you remember driving in a car as a child? Do you remember how you had to stop at a gas station and clean off the windshield? Do you remember how you don't have to do that anymore? It's because you killed the bugs. You managed to kill the bugs, people.
In Mississippi, we still have bugs.
You got some bugs, but you don't have bugs the way you did. It's different, and you know it. Okay? Things are bad. We should acknowledge that.
There were a lot of bugs here.
You look at a blip in history. 50 years is a blip. It's nothing. You can't predict the future on the basis
Hey,
of
How you doing?
okay, so, I mean, you want to put a bet on it, dude?
I wish we were both around to see it, but it's nothing. In geological time, this is nothing. We can't.
Actually, in geological time, the last time that this happened, 90% of the species on the planet died. And it's happened twice, okay? So this is not a blip, okay? Everything that we see has happened before in geological time. And it means everything dies. So no, that's not really that fucking great.
Humanity has been around 150 million years, been through numerous ice ages, and we're still around. Matter of fact, we're overpopulated.
You're a blip. Humanity is a blip. I'm not going to argue climate change. Okay, that's a stupid, stupid thing to do.
Yes.
Okay? We're not arguing climate change right now. It's stupid. Anybody who wants to argue climate change with me, well, it's not going to be fun. This,
I just wanted to ask your message to other people who are in community labs, if you could say it like, I mean, there's people watching the live stream and stuff like that
Yeah.
all over the world. Hi, friend.
hi, acquaintance.
If you could have them practice certain principles, so first the principles and then certain projects, what would that look like?
Okay, well, so, open principles. So, like, there needs to be more openness. There's so many people that are, like, sucked into the entrepreneurial mentality that they're like, oh, I got my projects on the DL. And it's like, well, your projects are probably garbage, but since nobody knows about them, you're not going to be able to tell them that they're garbage, and, you know, it's kind of a feedback loop of bullshit. And then, you know, you need to think of, like, you need to start prioritizing. I think we need to start talking about what's important. You know, we need to start facing the facts and then acting on them.
What about the projects?
What about the project? I mean, that's the thing. There are so many different ways to capture carbon, change ocean acidity, like there's like, who are those people working with the beaches to try to make the rocks that trap carbon dioxide? You know, there's like, that's the thing. I don't know, man. If I had all the answers, I'd just tell you what to do, but I don't. Okay? I'm asking for other people to come up with solutions.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas for cloud seeding through nature besides like
I don't.
upper atmospheric like stuff?
That sounds cool though. I like that.
Besides cooling the planet, do you have any ideas?
Well, so like cooling the planet is a band-aid, all right? Like solar shields, cloud seeding, all this other stuff, those are band-aids. We need regenerative practices, things that build things, you know? Like I said, we're really, really great at burning down forests, we're really crap at growing them, you know? So apply that to clouds, apply that to the ocean. Think about something other than like the fact that you love shit that glows. And vegan cheese.
We should talk about like the open plant project from Cambridge University versus like tobacco plants. Like the liverwort is being, distributed as an open source.
Yeah.
I think if you could talk about the differences and how that.
Well, I think kind of as a broader thing, it's, it would actually be pretty great if we can start looking outside of just our standard models. So one of the things that I'm doing with the ENS project is that I'm always using native species. So I'm collecting native plants. I'm working to see how the modifications work with native plants. Whenever I have this conversation with permaculture people, they're like, oh gosh, but what about you just gonna put white pine everywhere? And I'm like, no, native plants. Well, then it's just forest everywhere, and I'm like, native plants sometimes means grassland. And so stepping outside of our comfort zone of what the traditional models are, I mean, it's kind of what y'all are supposed to be about. So start working with other materials too. Start working with plants that you wouldn't normally work with, Get involved with algae. Like, most of the planet is water, so like deal with that stuff too.
All right. Gabe, give it up for Gabe.